Rami X back with another video. Maybe you did notice, maybe you didn't, but I took a break yesterday, and that was just because I kind of wanted to celebrate my milestone. If you may know, I've been trying to get 10K for a pretty long time. I think most YouTubers, at least in my opinion, want to get to 10K, and of course, I am no exception. Um, this is a great milestone for me, and I'm very happy for hitting it, especially because my initial goal was to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Of course, that was back when I started, and I've, gotten 10 times that amount, so I don't know, it just means a lot to me. And then I made a new goal of 5,000 and by the end of the year, and I doubled that one. So just feels great. But with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. This video is what if I was in Naruto, or what if Rami X was in Naruto. This video was inspired by Darius X, who made what if he was in Naruto. Though there was somebody who made the video 3 days before him, he was my inspiration to make this video, and he said that he was going to a few weeks prior to anybody else making the video. Anyhow, with that being said, check him out. Plus, he's my twin, so I mean, there's that. His link's down below. But with that being said, let's get into the backstory of this what if, and I hope you all enjoy. Before I fully start this what if, please come into watching and listening to this video without any comparison or parallels. By that I mean, please don't say that, for instance, this is the same story as blank what if YouTuber, because, well, frankly, I've never watched any other what if blank was in Naruto, and would really, to say the least, turn me off from the idea of continuing my own unique story. But with that out of the way, enjoy my 10K special. There are those born into the world with power, and those who have very little, if any at all. In the Naruto universe, specifically, within the Leaf Village, there are noble clans, and when you are born into such a clan, you are innately superior. Whether you truly are stronger, the weight that one's clan's name bears is unbelievable. And Uchiha can be considered an elite, whereas a Haruno, useless. Of course, I know it has become somewhat of a joke in the community, but Sakura is seen as useless even though the Haruno clan established themselves in the Leaf Village, as seen with Sakura and her father and mother's Jonin Vest. In my opinion, Sakura is not weak, but my point is just having a clan does not make one superior. Also, a little bit about the Haruno clan, if you will. I was told in the comments a little bit ago that I keep saying Sarunos. The Harunos have a Kekkei Genkai, and it was kind of surprising to me. I don't know if it was surprising to you guys hearing that, but supposedly they have a Kekkei Genkai, and it's called frost release. I don't know. It's like wind style and water style, and it can freeze anything that it comes in contact with. Even weather. They can make weather. I don't know. But that was just surprising to me, and I wanted to share that. But with that out of the way, we can now get back on track. Like I said before, this is important because I must first put myself into the Naruto universe. And for context, all of the events that transpired, like Boruto being born, Naruto becoming Hokage, Naruto defeating Pain, etc., they are all nothing. Because I, Rami Uchiha, was born at a time where these events hadn't happened. Now, to start the story off, I'm about 15 years old, and in the story, I want to make myself 15 years old as well. To be older than the main character of the franchise who we know and love as Naruto, and it just makes sense, at least in my opinion, so we can now truly begin the story. Rami Uchiha, a boy born without his parents, only hearing stories of their great accomplishments and tales of their victories within the previous Great Ninja War. But to Rami, their accomplishments meant nothing if they were dead anyways, because the only things besides stories that they, left for him were two swords. One was his mother's, and the other his father's. The blades to two powerful shinobi, Naka Uchiha, his father, a Mangekyo Sharingan user, and Nawari Uchiha, another Mangekyo Sharingan wielder. People who actually exist in the Naruto universe, who I will talk about. Even Itachi has talked about them. They are relevant to me, if you will, because, well, they're Rami's parents. So I will have to kind of talk about them, since in a way, some of Rami's power comes from his lineage, so why not explain his parents? First, we'll start off with Nawari Uchiha, or Uchiha Nawari. She is a Kunoichi from Konagakure's famed Uchiha clan, or was, since she is now dead, but I'll give you a bit of background on her character. Her close friend, Naka Uchiha, who she would later marry, was able to use Izanagi and in time became obsessed with its power. She was determined to save him from it and so ultimately cast Izanami on him in order to get him to see the error of his ways. We saw Itachi use Izanami on Kabuto and it basically made him like a good person kinda because he realized the error in his ways, and Nawari did this to Naka. Naka was able to finally accept the truth and break the endless loop the technique had plunged him into. She presumably died either before or during the Uchiha clan downfall, along with the rest of her clansmen, and to be more exact, she died before the massacre in this timeline, because, well, she was not killed by Itachi. Anyhow, Nawari was a calm Kunoichi who maintained her composure even when fighting a friend and fellow clan member, which is going to go hand in hand with Rami's personality. She also was very kind and selfless, as she tried to save Naka by making him accept his fate using a non-lethal method, sacrificing one of her eyes in the process. Nawari had long wavy purple hair and cropped bangs hung over her Konagakure forehead protector, with only the Konoha symbol showing on it. She also wore the standard mantle of the Uchiha clan, with their crest emblazoned, or, on the back, along with two swords strapped to her left hip by multiple bandages. So she was a Kenjutsu user, and I did explain these two swords, one of which, would never be found, and the other of which would, be to Rami Uchiha. But besides that, Nawari was also very skilled, and I want to talk about that skill just for a little bit. Nawari was undoubtedly a powerful shinobi and ninja of Konagakure. She was shown wielding a sword, like I explained before, indicating skill with Kenjutsu. She was also able to awaken her clan's dojutsu, the Sharingan, and was even able to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan. Unlike most known Mangekyo, the color of her dojutsu is inverted. It's kind of weird to say the least. I don't want to get too deep into that because it's not of too much relevance to say the least. She was also able to use one of the clan's kinjutsu, Izanami, which traps the target in an endlessly looped genjutsu with no hope of escaping, unless they accept themselves. Written as Nawari means recovery. This is a possible reference to her desire to save her fellow clansmen from their lust for power. Along with Itachi, Kagami, and Shisui, Nawari is one of the few Uchiha who never appeared to succumb to her clan's curse of hatred despite her personal loss and awakening of the Sharingan. So this is going to play an important part in Rami's life, and he's, not to give any spoilers, but he's not going to be inflicted by the curse of hatred. Yeah. But now, onto his father, Naka Uchiha. Naka Uchiha was a shinobi of Konagakure, just like Nawari, as Naka was a close comrade of Nawari Uchiha. He was able to awaken his Mangekyo Sharingan and became obsessed with the technique Izanagi, like I explained before. He actually used it to kill some of his own clansmen in order to save himself. Nawari used Izanami on him to force him to accept the truth and see reality. After struggling for a while, Naka eventually accepted his fate and broke the loop caused by the Izanami. And just like Nawari, he died before the Uchiha downfall / Uchiha massacre, because, Itachi did not kill him, and he just died from old age. But with that out of the way, Naka was pretty skilled. He had swords, right? Or a sword, my bad, and was skilled with Kenjutsu. He was able to awaken his clan's dojutsu, the Sharingan. The dojutsu granted him the ability to use the technique Izanagi, which he apparently used obsessively, and since I'm telling the story, he did use obsessively. That's a part of the reason why he really liked Nawari, who could, I guess you could say, pull him from the darkness. Yeah. But with that being said, Naka had already awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, and he wasn't even in his 20s, so that's to say something at least. And heck, it's just saying something that he even had the Mangekyo in the first place, because he's pretty powerful. Naka means southern joy. Also, his name, read together with Nawari's, means or forms the word Naka Nawari, meaning reconciliation, a possible reference to him accepting his fate through the Izanami. Naka's Mangekyo Sharingan greatly resembles that of Itachi Uchiha, insofar as it seems to be a negative form of Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan. What I mean by that is that the only other differences being its pupil having a circle around it and the blade shapes being wider. And now we can, fully, if that makes sense, get into the video, and I'm, gonna start. Rami was an orphan who lived amongst the Uchiha clan. Rami had seen many things in his life. He was introduced to fighting from a young age, and ever since he was the ripe age of 4. He trained his body to its fullest, so that he could one day change the world and see the child prophecy come to light. This being a part of his dream because he had heard stories and tales of a great child known as the Child of Prophecy. Not only that, but he wanted to protect his village and become the Hokage. This was Rami's goal ever since he met the strongest member of the clan in his eyes, known as Shisui Uchiha. Naruto held a great deal of respect for Shisui, even though there may have been people stronger than him, like Fugaku Uchiha. Shisui was strong in the mind as well, and he was a prodigy. Nevertheless, Rami had formed a son and father-like bond with Shisui, but at times a brother-like bond. Shisui had even trained Rami, and a few days before he committed suicide, he entrusted one of his Mangekyo Sharingan to Rami, telling him that his plan had failed and that there was no other way. This Mangekyo Sharingan would not be used by Rami, at least not at the time, as he would just put it in a jar to, sit. As I do want to explain a little bit of this. Shisui, due to their bond, would actually adopt Rami, seeing him being a promising warrior. And you may find this odd because, the Uchiha massacre. Why would he adopt somebody that Itachi would just, kill? Well, that's not going to be happening for obvious reasons. I do not want to add the story in one part, because that just wouldn't do right with me. Maybe it's just me, but that wouldn't do right with me. So that's not going to be happening. But with that being said, on the day of the Uchiha massacre, Shisui would basically tell Rami that, their plan failed. They can't use Koto Natsukami, and that's where he would give Rami his Mangekyo. Not only that, but he would basically ask Rami to go to this cabin. Rami would go to the cabin, and he would lock the cabin door, telling Rami that there's about 2 weeks worth of food in the fridge that was within the cabin. Rami would eat this food for a long time, and as Shisui had basically told him to stay there for a few weeks. 2 weeks would pass, and in this timeline, the Anbu are not aware of the Uchiha, dying. Though this may be unlikely, it's not happening here. Though they would be about 1 week and a half after the actual Uchiha massacre. Rami would wait for a week, but 3 days into that week, Shisui had already died. Shisui had been at the edge of a mountain, as below him was a waterfall. Itachi would ask where Shisui's Mangekyo had gone, as Shisui would smirk. I gave it to him. Itachi would then speak. You mean him, like Rami Uchiha? Yeah, the boy. The promising boy who I adopted. I see, Itachi would say. Shisui's smirk would then turn to a straight face as he would tell Itachi that both he and Sasuke will want revenge, probably even more so Rami. Itachi would nod, telling Shisui that he's prepared to take on the hatred of Sasuke and Rami. Shisui would then smile. Thank you, Itachi. You've never let me down. You've always been a great friend. Shisui would then commit suicide, as he did in canon, as Itachi would awaken the Mangekyo. The events of the canon would ensue as the Uchiha massacre would happen. 4 more days would pass as Rami would break out of the cabin, smelling a foul smell from the Uchiha compound. He would decide not to, go near the Uchiha compound, at least for a little bit, as he was a bit scared. He wasn't prepared to see the many, dead bodies of the Uchiha. So he would wait another 3 days. As you may know, this is a week and a half. 3 plus 4 is a week, and 3 days is half a week, basically. So a week and a half had now passed, and Root, Danzo, Anbu were, scouting the area to grab eyes and just to do their thing, if you will, as Rami was alone. Nobody was in the area that he was in, At least from what he could see, Anbu were only entering the Uchiha compound. Rami looked around as he did have a few friends, immediately checking up on them. First, his best friend, Jiro, who also was an orphan. He passed away. Rami's one Tomoe would awaken. Then Sora, Rami's second best friend, and someone Rami kind of liked. Similar to Itachi and Izumi, she was dead as well. Rami would activate the second Tomoe. He would then run down the Uchiha compound, stopping at a shop that sold donuts. The clerk was killed. Rami's three Tomoe would awaken. This man had served Rami donuts every day. This would basically be the equivalent to ramen guy dying, so I want you guys to understand that this did really affect Rami. Rami didn't want to accept the harsh reality he was in, as he would go to the person he thought was equally as strong as Shisui, and if anyone were to be alive, it'd be him, Uchiha Fugaku. Rami would check, and he saw a boy on the floor. He recognized him as Sasuke. He was now on the verge of the Mangekyo, but then he saw Mikoto Uchiha, who had given him there once, and they had a innate connection, if you will. He then remembered all the time he spent with Fugaku, who had actually trained Rami, in some jutsu. I will explain those jutsu later in a fight, if you will. I don't want to give it away too much. But yeah, and his Mangekyo would form. His eyes were now red with the Sharingan. He wanted to destroy everything. Rami's physically strong body would be able to handle the Mangekyo much better than, say, Kakashi or a lot of Uchiha who would probably just pass out, if only for a few minutes. As he checked to see if they were alive, and Sasuke was. He would then fall to the ground, tears blurring his vision as he would smile. At least I won't be alone in this hell. Rami then would wake up 2 days later, as beside him was Uchiha Sasuke, who was sitting up in his bed. But he wasn't talking. His eyes were open. These were the effects of the Genjutsu Itachi used on Sasuke. As Rami would be asked a multitude of questions, but Rami would stay silent, walking past the nurse asking the questions. He would then go back to the scene of the Uchiha compound, evading the Anbu's security, which had tightened, as he wanted to take the eyes of the dead, knowing the Sharingan's importance from many lessons that Shisui taught him. But to his surprise, a man with a bandage over his eye, black hair, and what appeared to be a broken arm had been taking, the Mangekyo and just, Sharingan around. By Mangekyo, I'm talking about Fugaku, who has been stated to have the Mangekyo. It was confirmed in Naruto that it was kind of like a filler, and then it was also confirmed in Boruto where Sarada, actually saw Fugaku's Sharingan, so it is a real thing if you were curious. He was also just picking up, other Uchiha Sharingans, but Rami wouldn't stand for this. Rami's Mangekyo Sharingan would activate yet again, as his Uchiha blood would boil. All Uchiha are basically, kind of related, so this was kind of like, disrespecting the dead and disrespecting a family member, to say the least. Rami would stay silent as he would grit his teeth. Danzo couldn't help but, feel Rami's presence, as Rami's Mangekyo would now be completely active. He was so enraged that he could, destroy everything, just like yesterday. Just like when he was alone, but figured out that he was not, and that his pain would be shared. Rami would rush in to kill Danzo, who would see Rami through his eyes as he had turned around. Catching Rami's fist, Rami would feel himself overwhelmed by Danzo's presence, the presence of an elder, a presence of a Kage-level ninja. Danzo would smirk seeing Rami's Mangekyo, as Rami would grit his teeth, kicking off of Danzo and rushing around the Uchiha compound. If you were curious, Danzo was smirking because if he killed Rami, that would be another Sharingan, and if he defeated Rami, a potential Anbu/root member. Rami would then collect kunai, paper bombs, and shuriken, as he knew 3 jutsu that could help him in the battle: the Shadow Shuriken Jutsu, the Uchiha-style Great Fireball Jutsu, and the Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, all of which Shisui had taught him, except for the Uchiha-style Great Fireball Jutsu, taught by Fugaku to him. Rami would then continue on his way, grabbing weapons, as he would find the sword of what appeared to be an Uchiha. 2 swords, in fact. His mother and father's. They were actually at their gravestones. Rami knew of this place, of course, because, well, he was their son, and so he would pick them up. These swords are known as the demon swords. I'll explain that later on, though. Rami would then start to approach Danzo, as his rage and Uchiha blood would boil, rushing towards Danzo, as he would yell out Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. Danzo would be bombarded with Shuriken, as Danzo would launch a wind jutsu to combat it. Naruto would grit his teeth as he would run towards Danzo on feet, raising his foot and slamming it into Danzo's arm. Danzo's arm wouldn't budge, almost as if it were metal, as Rami would then jump back, grabbing the sword he picked up and swinging it towards Danzo, who would block with his arm. Naruto was in awe again at how powerful Danzo's arm was, as he would cut the bandages around it. Rami would see Danzo's Sharingan arm. This arm was so, hard, tough, I guess you could say, because of the Senju DNA and, modifications to his body, by Orochimaru. Anyhow, Rami's instincts would kick in as his strength would reach a climax. Rami would then feel his eyes spinning, as time would stop. This was the first ability of the Mangekyo Sharingan Rami Uchiha possessed. Rami, taking advantage of this, unable to move, Danzo would be hit with an Uchiha-style Great Fireball Jutsu, point blank. And then, to follow it up, Rami would create an X-like slice on Danzo's body, maybe similar to his ex-heritage, with his father and mother's swords, which from now on, like I said before, I'll be referring to as the Demon Blades. Naruto, at this point, is just, the same age as Sasuke, so he's about, 8 years old right now. Just if any of you guys were wondering what Naruto's doing or how old he is, right now he's just partaking in the academy, doing that kind of stuff. Back to the fight. Rami would then do a backflip, holding his swords in front of Danzo, as he would then slice Danzo again. Before time could fully replay, Rami would make sure that Danzo was injured enough to where, even though he may be able to move, Rami might be able to get the upper hand. As he would then slice Danzo's arm, basically trying to eliminate the Sharingan, because if Danzo can use said Sharingan, it would be a mess for Rami, at least in his mind, as Rami would grit his teeth, realizing that he was able to basically slice all of the Sharingan except for one. Danzo would then fall to the ground in pain as suddenly time replayed, and suddenly his whole body was in pain. This damage was caused by Rami, if you couldn't tell. Danzo would then create a wooden sword from his body as he would stab Rami, with it rewriting reality. Basically, he had rewritten reality with his last Sharingan so that he was never even hit by Rami, as he was now at full health. Danzo would kick Rami into the sky. The change of atmosphere would cause Rami to cough, as Danzo would then use the wind release vacuum technique on Rami, who would pass out. Rami would then look around, as he was in a place he had never seen. Above him were 2 people, Nawari Uchiha and Naka Uchiha, mementos of his father and mother. Rami's eyes would widen as 5 words would be said from their mouths. "It's not your time yet, Rami." Rami's eyes would widen as he would speak. "Why? Why would you do this, Danzo?" Naruto felt a sense of justice within him. Something told him that he needed to continue. He couldn't run away. Maybe, just maybe, he was able to see people who resembled his parents because he was holding onto their swords. Or maybe he was just imagining it. But he felt revitalized. He felt like he had obtained a great deal of power suddenly. Rami would then clench the dirt under him, as his hair would stand and electricity surrounded him. This electricity would then turn to a purple color, as it would be hidden with a red monstrous aura, similar to the tailed beast. Rami would stand, coughing up blood, as his Mangekyo would spin. "You'll pay for what you've done, Danzo. I won't forgive you." Danzo would smirk. What an interesting boy, Danzo thought to himself. As Rami would rush towards Donzo. And with that being said, this has been my first part to my 10K special. What if I was in Naruto, or what if Rami X was in Naruto? I hope it wasn't too like choppy. I had to get this script done in like a day, and heck, I haven't made a script in a very long time. But I wanted to put this video a bit more on track. But with that being said, because I'll enjoy it. Check out my second channel down below where I also post what ifs, and my Darius X's channel, who inspired me to make this what if, and he's also my twin, so why not? But with that being said,